Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. For Taurus season, the month of May, whatever your timing paradigm is, at this point it doesn't really matter. It's just that you're here right now. I hope you're well. I'm using the 777 tarot for you today. This is my Bulgarian deck. I love it. It is outstanding. Anyway, before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end via the links in the description box below. The link to Selfie will take you to the individual extended, but if you want something a little bit more, you might consider coming over to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can get access to all of the extended content for all of the signs. You can also access the weekly right, the weekly energy readings that I do that run between 45 to 60 minutes long quite often, pretty much most of the time actually. And you get the opportunity to participate in the Deccan Walk, which we are, it's kind of like a collaborative project we're doing over there, and the results of this are absolutely outstanding. Really absolutely have blown my expectations out of the water already, and we're only 6 decans into a 36 decan journey, you know. Anyway, if you join at the higher tier, you can also come participate in the live classes that we run over there. So, and get access to all of the recordings of the previous classes we've done. Shuffle those again. So if any of that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. Let me just flip the camera around here and explain to you what we're going to be doing here today. It is 2026, and the rules that I set right at the beginning of the year, it's not really a rules, it was just an awareness, right? That the most important question you can ask yourself is, where actually are you right now? Not what are you afraid of, not what do you suspect is coming down the pike, you know, not fear-based situations, but like quite literally, where are you right now? And then from there, somewhat, I have to say, inspired by the Deccan Walk, and looking at the 5, 6, 7 of Pentacles, which are the tarot cards that correspond to the position of the Sun right now. There's a lot of work around identification of issues and then application of resources to fix those, right? And the issue itself for me circulates around the essence of the 5 of Pentacles, which, if you recall, I have described as being either a lack or a fear of lack, right? Poverty or a fear of poverty. And it's the fear aspect of it that really seems to be standing out at the moment, and better described as, if nothing in your life changed from where it is right now, right? If you keep walking the path that you're on, where you end up in 5 years' time, or even 3 years' time, 1 year's time, because, I mean, look at where we are, is that acceptable to you? Is everything running so perfectly that nothing could be tweaked or changed? Because the essence of 5 is about change, 5 of Pentacles, and the application of the 6 and the 7 then being how we tweak little things, because, you know, a reorientation of a mere quarter of a degree at this point is going to land you somewhere very, very different in a year's time, 2 years' time, definitely in 5 years' time. So we're going to have a look at how that is playing out for you, and what it would be a good idea for you to focus on here, Libra. And then we'll close out with what I think is the second most important question you can ask yourself, which is simply, what is the next step? We're not talking about grand plans, grand designs. I'm going to do this and, you know, invest all my resources in this. It's like, no, this year only requires you to take the next step. So what is that for you? I hope that this is okay. This is what I have for you. So let's get started and ask where Libra is right now, please. I have my suspicions. There we are, Queen of Pentacles, because of what came up in the meditation before I started your reading. Yeah. I tell you what came up, and it was one very specific thing. It was a pain in my fucking head right here above my left eye. It just kind of made me want to go like, oh, there. It felt stressed. I'll put it that way, Libra. So, okay. You're not the only sign to have had relationships and everything relationship adjacent sort of come up as a consideration, or a possible point of pain, as we used to call it in martial arts when I was teaching that, right? The points of pain are stress positions that we hold. Anyway, difference is in martial arts we do it on purpose, and here we're absolutely not doing it, right? And how do we know it's relationship oriented? Well, we have the Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Now this doesn't mean necessarily your spouse or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, something like that, right? It is, for me, at its core, it's a card that speaks of intimacy primarily, and that is often to be found in our very, very close relationships. But there are also degrees in which we can have intimacy with a business partner that we wouldn't have with other people, right? Shared finances, a shared interest in the success of an endeavour that we're engaged in. But it can also be, your bestie, or it can be somebody that you know at work. It's that spot in between two people where there's a meeting of minds, vision, heart, all sorts of resources, possibly. And whilst everybody tends to focus on what another person is bringing to the table, I think relationship, a bit like communication, is a two-way street, right? So we have to take into consideration also what you are bringing to the table. Now, additionally, on top of what I've already said there, we've got the Knight of Cups, who is trying to give, he is trying to be of service, he's trying to provide something for someone somewhere. But we also have the Four of Swords and the Four of Cups, and it feels like there is a withdrawal that is going on here while you are trying to work some things out, because quite honestly, Libra, you feel a little bit overstretched to me. I had that pain in my head when I was doing the meditation for you before. I also have a pain in my hand now as well that I did not have before. Pain in hands is usually there's too much on our plate, right? Both of these cards here are foundational. Four of Swords, Four of Cups. They talk about, well, it's quite layered and quite complex, right? But so let's start with the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is a feeling that we are not getting what we need from a relationship. We're not getting what we need anywhere. It's a feeling sometimes of isolation, sometimes it's of neglect. I've seen this card represent abandonment issues sometimes as well. It's this feeling that there's stuff in front of us and nobody's really giving us what we need. You will notice, though, that this chap is completely oblivious to the angel that sat behind him with the cup in her hand, going, "Would you want one of these? I've got one of these. Here, you can have one of these." Often it can be a card of a sort of self-abandonment, because we do see themes like resentment creeping in with this card here too. And resentment's a really interesting feeling to become aware of, Libra, because quite often it means that our boundaries are not quite in the right place. If we feel like we are giving with nothing in return, we really do have to have a look at what it is we're giving and why we're giving it, to work out whether it's even appropriate that we should receive something in return. Do you see what I mean? Like, for me, the resentment aspect of this is always about giving away too much of your power and then being disappointed when other people don't reciprocate to the same degree. But the question is, are we giving too much? Are we trying to do too much? We've got the Queen of Pentacles here, who is all about the business of investing. Well, she's quite discerning about what she invests, but what she considers to be important is what she will choose to invest in. And like I said, we do seem to be in the arena of you and other people. Now, I think it would be remiss of me to keep talking without reference to the fact that we've had such a weighting on the other side of the zodiac to you. Things are all out of whack a little bit at the moment, and that's not going to feel good to a Libra anyway, right? But we had the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 20th of February in the sign of Aries, 0 degrees Aries. And then a scant blink later, we had a 7-planet stellium pile up in Aries too. All of that happening on the other side of the zodiac to you, and probably feeling like it's dragged you off course somewhat. And a lot of people have been talking about the joys of, the new start that this energy gives us. And to some extent, they will be correct. But I think if we overlook the effect that this may have had on Libra on the other side of the wheel, it feels like It feels like you're questioning yourself on such a fundamental level now that you almost aren't quite sure which way is up, because it feels like you followed all the rules, Libra. Like you did things the way that you thought that they were supposed to be done, and yet you've ended up feeling the way that you are. Now, I've skirted around this Four of Swords, but I think because I feel like it needs us to talk about it on its own first, right? Not in relation to everything else that's on the table. The Four of Swords follows on quite naturally, as you would expect, from the Three of Swords. And although the Three of Swords on the first pass appears to represent, pain and humiliation and heartbreak and all those sorts of things, actually, maybe let's see if we can dig it out in the Waite Smith. I find it's the one card in the tarot that you don't have to explain to normies what it means. They see it and the meaning is so fucking obvious that you can't miss it, right? So there it is. It's actually a Libra card, interestingly enough, as is the Four of Swords. So we look at that and we go, wow, poor us, everything's awful, right? But there are interesting layers to this card. Like I said before, there've been many times where, when I was first learning the tarot, where I couldn't quite work out why this would be a Swords card rather than a Cups card, because of what it represents, right? So I was kind of digging around in me, trying to work out why it was given Swords rather than Cups. And eventually I came to the realization that the Swords represent the truth, the highest expression of the truth. And though uncomfortable and probably downright painful in some instances, what's happening here is the truth, evidence, facts, information has come in and punctured a little emotional bubble that we've been living in, where we thought the world was one way and it actually turned out to be another. And it's not temporally specific either. Sometimes the things that hurt us are not happening right here in the moment. It's actually the awareness of those things could be coming in 2 decades later that feel like a sword through the heart. Even though we are so, away from that situation now, it shouldn't really upset us at all. But like I said, it's a Libra card, and it actually represents Saturn in Libra. Bear with me, I'll get to the point in a minute, Libra. And Saturn is in his exaltation in Libra, which means he can do his best work there, right? He's unencumbered by, certainly the chaos that he's finding over in Aries at the moment, where he's currently sitting, right? And there's this sense of the great balancing and justice that can be brought by everybody dealing with reality rather than, daydreams and fantasies and what we kind of want to be there versus what actually is there. So this is the essence of the Three of Swords. And then we move to the Four. And what we have here is a state of withdrawal, rest, sometimes contemplation, very rarely I would say relaxation, right? Where we're kind of withdrawing on the world. And we're going, there's a whole paradigm that's been rewritten in front of me now, and I have to work out how to integrate it into everything that I am. And it's not easy to do that around people. So even if you are still, around people at work and all that kind of thing, you're not as invested as you have been before, while you're still trying to work out what the fuck just happened, Now, if you take those meanings of withdrawal, kind of tactical retreat, right? While we're trying to work everything out, because we're trying to create a new foundation for our understanding of the world. But at the same time, we are wrestling with these feelings of possibly neglect, possibly not having what we need, possibly a little bit of resentment somewhere, or a feeling of just being alone. When we're trying so hard to be there for other people, and yet, it feels like something's unraveling here to me, Libra. And you're not the only sign to be having this feeling. Some signs are really charging forwards and they're really on it. Other sides are kind of having that, they're sitting in that place where they're deconstructing on a genetic level, like, when caterpillars turn into butterflies. trying to work out what the fuck everything means. Now, you know, I've been prattling on for a while now and I haven't even pulled some clarifiers, so let's do that. It's the Queen of Pentacles. Although she deals with things of value and what is worth investing in, on the one hand, also has associated with her this kind of idea of making sense of what we value, making sense that we value the right thing. You know, all the queens for me help us try and work out what the fuck is going on, and particularly as it comes to notions of value. Here, the very first card out is the Ten of Wands. It's another Saturn card, and there is definitely a Saturn overlay with the Queen of Pentacles because she represents Capricorn, right? So what we have here is just this discomfort where everything seems off. You seem quite literally imbalanced in terms of your understanding of the situation, your intentions and what you're trying to do versus what you're getting back, which feels like fuck all, actually, Libra. Yeah, and the Page of Swords is there saying, oh, we don't really have the information to work this one out, actually. If the Page of Swords was in the upright, it'd be like, well, I'm trying to gather up as much information here to inform my understanding. But he's showing up in a sort of neutralised form. And so it feels a little bit like, rather than getting information that is useful and then applying it to your understanding of the situation, what's actually happening is you're going around in a loop. And it comes back to the emotional each time, as it would, right? But, but not just the emotional, also like, what the fuck does it all mean? Excuse me. Tell me about the Four of Swords and the Four of Cups. We have the Hanged Man in the reverse. Goodness, we have an awful lot of cards here. I don't really want to take all of these, but we're going to do it anyway. So we've got the Eight of Swords on its side. We've got the Four of Wands on its side. Page of Wands. The Empress. Fuck me, the Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Pentacles, right? I'm not going to leave all of these on the table, but I want you to see them for how they are. Queen of Pentacles is back on the bottom of the deck here. Like, this is really, really difficult because all of these cards are almost showing up in their potentialized state, right? All of this energy is here and it's ready for you to make use of if you wanted to. And yet, with that Hanged Man in reverse, I'm not sure if part of the problem is that you come back to this same state of like, but I'm right though. Now here, I'm a parent to Libras. And I know that this is a thing that comes up every now and again, but I'm right though. Are you though? Because for all, Libra represents the balance, like quite often. You have to go through a lot of imbalanced states to get to the place where true balance is actually achieved. So normally I would talk about the Hanged Man as representing having hung upside down long enough, right? We've got the answers now, it's fine. You can get down off the fucking tree, right? But I'm looking at these two figures side by side, and I'm not getting a sense that that higher wisdom has really percolated through to the point that you actually know what you're doing now. You feel really confused to me. And so, you know, we've got the Eight of Swords showing up sideways here. And this is a card I actually fucking love. I love this card when it shows up. Because, yes, it is problematic. It's stuck. It's trapped. We don't know what to do. We don't feel like we've got any options. We are obliged to keep doing things the way that we have done them. Or maybe we're waiting for someone to come save us, right? But the beauty of this card is that actually that isn't correct. And when this card comes up, we know that there's something about our thinking that has been faulty, and we need to go back to base principles. We need to check everything that we've glossed over as an assumption of intractability, immutability, and test that. I mean, sometimes it will come up with options that are available that we just don't want to take. That's not the same as I don't have a choice. And that's really important. But the opportunity to free yourself is also here, right? It's just like, which way is the balance going to tip? We've got another 4 card here, this time the 4 of Wands, and it is the active construction of a life that feels like it has purpose and meaning and is joyful to you. But it's on its side, right? It's there, the capacity is there, the possibility is there, but it's not yet being pursued, right? Because we're still stuck in this state up here. Page of Wands. Preparing for a journey to go where? I don't know where I'm going. I'm lying down. I'm trying to work it out in my head which direction I'm supposed to go in, and I don't fucking know. I can't prepare for a journey that I don't know that I'm taking. And I can't prepare for a journey if I don't know what the destination is, right? Or yeah, don't know what to pack if I don't know where I'm going, right? The Empress is on her side here, usually indicative of fertility and abundance and that kind of generative nature of the universe. But even she is coming up kind of afflicted and going, well, I can't generate shit from down here, right? I need to at least be in the upright. And this one's really telling. Because although the Wheel of Fortune is obviously a wheel, and so it doesn't really matter where it shows up, when it shows up in a slightly compromised fashion, which is to say any way other than in the upright like that, it's like the wheels of the universe are turning, things are happening, but we cannot perceive how any of this could be possibly linked. I get a sense when the Wheel of Fortune is in the upright that we kind of know that the hands of fate are all over us, or destiny if you prefer, right? They're all over us and they're pulling us in interesting ways, and we can kind of follow that. We have the faith to follow that, and we have the faith to trust that feeling that it's all kind of just working. When it shows up on its side, it's like, I don't fucking get it. What good could possibly be coming out of this situation? And then finally, the 8 of Pentacles. The desire to work hard and be consistent and be disciplined, which I think to some extent, Libra, is what you've been trying to do. And yet there is this issue and you can't shake it. Now, what does it mean? Queen of Pentacles is here, again, analysing the pentacle and going. And at its worst, for some of you, Libra, I think some of you might be wondering what the point of view actually is. Like, it's inconceivable that somebody could put in this much effort to something and get literally nothing in return. Maybe minus things in return. It feels like it's really affecting you right now. Tell me about this Knight of Cups, please. Yeah, see. And it's not even clear how you get back to this state where you feel like you're able to take care of yourself, you're functional, right? We've got this card here that talks about self-reliance and independence, self-sufficiency, right? I can look after myself. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man, right? I think that's really obnoxious, by the way. Just pretend I didn't say that. I was memeing. But there seems to me to be no clear understanding of how we get to that, which makes sense because all of these cards here are all showing up as possible, but not actually pursuable, at least to your own mind, right? And then when we come underneath this, it's like the obvious solution to this almost would be to walk away. And yet, that's not happening. All the cards numbered 8 talk about ways in which we can reclaim our sovereignty and, more importantly, our power. And you have 3 of them. And they're all showing up sideways. This is kind of like you're vacillating around. And for whatever reason, not wanting to take a step that actually is there and is possible and is an option, and I think you're aware of, and yet you dismiss it so quickly out of hand that you kind of circle back to the state that you're in. Now, I did say I wasn't going to leave all these cards on the table, if for no other reason than it's just messy, right? So I'm going to put all of those back in the clarifying deck. And have a look to see what right. I've got another sideways card here. We've got the 7 of, not the 7 of anything, it's the Chariot, which is card number 7. Right, we've got the Page of Pentacles and the 5 of Swords. And we've got the Ace of Wands with the Fool at the bottom of the deck. Hi, Libra. This is the thing, right? You feel like you're going around in circles, and you feel like you're driving yourself insane with all of this. But actually, the solution to everything is really, really very close. It may involve you contemplating things that actually you'd rather not. And I think that's possibly the source of the issue. Because here, this Chariot card on its side, this card represents Cancer in the Major Arcana. And on the face of it, it deals with things like willpower, determination, the will to succeed, you know, success in and of itself, it driving forwards, right? This is what you will find in the little white book for this card. But there's a whole other dimension to the Chariot card, which is about balance and equilibrium. And for me, it's a card of shadow work, actually. I've never heard another reader on the planet describe it that way, but there's a very obvious signification there for me in this one. Why? Because we have a sense of balancing forces, right, that are required. We've got the polarity of self, which is everything that is good about us, but also everything that is bad. I'm going to put that in air quotes, everything that is bad about us, which is to say all those things that exist within our shadow. And then we have this conscious mind across the top that is needing to balance out all of that. Find a way to integrate the shadow so that we are aligned and balanced, and we're not casting out any part of ourselves, right? And the Charioteer performing the function of the micro adjustments that are required when we're dealing with our shadow versus dealing with our light, so that we can move forward. It is quite simply a card of the self, a knowing of the self, an understanding of the self, a recognizing of all the things that you tack self as a prefix onto the word, then it becomes a card of the Chariot, right? An energy of the Chariot. So self-awareness, self-discipline, self-worth, self-knowledge, these are all Chariot concerns. And if any of those are not functioning properly, then the Chariot is not balanced, aligned, and moving straight. Right? If any of these horses try to pull off in a different direction, the whole Chariot's just going to start spinning, right? It's going to flip over and over and over. That's not a recipe for success. Internal balance is a representation, whatever word I just used, of success, right? So in the first instance, we can see that this is showing up sideways, which means there's a little bit more work here to do than perhaps we wanted to admit. I do feel like there are things here that you are being asked to admit to yourself that you don't actually want to accept. Now, what those are will be different for each of you. But what I want to get to, and particularly with regard to the shadow, is what part of you is getting exactly what it needs from this situation. And I realise that that's quite a confrontational question, given that we've already recognised you're not getting anything that you need from this situation. I don't really believe in self-sabotage, not as a pure concept, because there are many different bits of us that are competing for a particular outcome. And whilst what may be going on may be running contrary to the conscious mind, it doesn't mean that some part of us somewhere is not getting exactly what we think we deserve, we need, whatever, right? And on the times where it looks like we've sabotaged ourselves, that's where it's won. I'm always interested to look, even in my own life, right, where I am a match for the things that I am not enjoying right now, because that shows me where the work is. That shows me what needs to be done, at least the vague direction that I need to go in to work out why the fuck I'm in this situation again, right? And there's something here about service. And service in and of itself is great. We love service. But the question as to whether the service is coming from the right place is a different one. Like, what are you getting out of being of service to this person, to this situation at this time? And this is something that you have to dig for. It's not going to be the first most obvious answer that comes into your head, it's going to be something that is kind of elusive and is kind of scuttling around like a spider in the background, trying not to be seen. The Five of Swords and the Three of Wands reversed are interesting, not least because we've got the Five of Swords over here, right? In both instances, we have the energy of chaotic and unstable thought processes. Now here, with the Five of Swords reversed, what we've got is a stabilization of this. This is excellent, this is what we want. But it's a stabilization in relation to realizing that the problem is emanating within us rather than in the out there situation, and that's why we can't find the answers for it. And that we actually need to stop pushing forwards just for a moment so that we can have a look and see what's going on in here. Because this Page and Five of Swords says that the wonky thought processes, the chaotic, the unstable, all things of swords here, and the place that actually offers us the opportunity for change, because it's a 5, right, relate very strongly to the Page of Pentacles and what we have thought was valuable. Now we could push further into this and say the thing that makes us valuable is being available all the time, is being of service all the time, is putting up with far more than your average person should ever fucking put up with from another person, because this is how you demonstrate both your worth and also how much you care. Now that's faulty, that's wonky. And if your baseline assumption that you have to prove that you care by these endless acts of service to somebody else, then we have a problem on the level of self-worth here, Libra. That's what it is. We've got a problem on the level of understanding your own innate value, and also truly understanding the level of value that you present to somebody else. Now, I would not go as far as to say that the people that you are dealing with at this time have, let's say, narcissistic traits, right? But it's entirely possible, because we've fucking seen an explosion of that in the last 10, 15 years. There are considerably more people around with narcissistic traits than ever there were before, because we've come to a place as a society where we venerate that, right? There's an audience for that now. This is the gift that social media has given us, right? And so now because we are rewarding that, more people are leaning into that, rather than society giving the person concerned a corrective slap and saying, pull yourself together. That's not how we behave. So whilst I might not necessarily suggest that that is true, if I did have a card that represented narcissists and narcissistic behaviour, it would be the Five of Swords. Now, the other side of the equation, because if you listen to the internet, everybody is a fucking narcissist nowadays. I think there are, like I said, there's been an explosion in narcissistic traits. What I don't hear people talking about is the other side of the equation. And the other side of the equation is the narcissist will only hang around for as long as you give them what they need, right? The second you stop giving them what they need, you don't become as shiny and useful anymore, and their interest in you will wane. Not that I think their interest in you has been particularly strong anyway. Why? Because you've just simply made yourself far too available, Libra. And we might say that you've done it for the right reasons. I would disagree. I would say that the intentions were correct, but because you haven't interrogated your own intentions, like what part of you are you trying to assuage here in this acts of selflessness? What are you trying to get out of this situation? Because, just like with that Three of Swords there, like the result that you're getting is not matching up with what you thought you would get. And so we're coming back to core values, a core sense of value in yourself. Where is this? This is a moment for some deep introspection, because both the Ace of Wands and the Fool are looking to liberate you from what you are stuck and trapped in. Now, these energies are present, they can be worked with, but they're not going to do the job for you. It's almost like you have to go looking for the underlying reasons why you make yourself so available, why you don't say no. Boundaries. People who have no sense of self-worth do not put up boundaries because they don't believe that they deserve them. And I think if part of what the imbalance here is that you've got someone elevated beyond the position that they should sit in, and you are a corresponding amount below the horizon down here. And whatever hope that you are dealing with, that one day they will notice your worth and they will elevate you, it's kind of missing the point. Because they're benefiting from you not having any boundaries. So why would they do that? Why would they do that, Libra? It makes no sense at all. It comes down to you to recognize what is kind of scuttling around in the darkness with you. Realize that it has no way of being brought out into the light by the care, attention, affection and dedication of another person looking to be reciprocal in terms of what you have already given them. And it in fact falls to you yourself to do that. And that's quite a painful place to be. It's a really painful place to be. Tell me about this Ace of Wands. Because the Ace of Wands will tell us that you need to do things differently. Double Fool, Ace of Wands, Magician and 2 Pages. These are cards of new starts here. And when I said to you before, like, you are so very fucking close from being able to flip the script on all of this. This is what I'm talking about. The cards absolutely agree. The Fool is a new cycle, a new journey, a beginning place. But the Fool is also innately linked to freedom and liberation of self, not from circumstances and situations, but of self. And then self can liberate oneself from, circumstances and situations. And then begin the process of creating a new existence for themselves, which is much more in alignment with who they are, rather than what has been problematic for them. Like, these are all cards of new starts. The pages take what you already know, reevaluate it and go, okay, scaffold onto what you already know. You've got aces and fools and magicians everywhere just waiting for you to notice that this comes down to you saying yes or you saying no. And any other consideration is actually completely fucking irrelevant to how you move forwards at this point. Beyond that, like I said, you feel almost enslaved to something here, and it's not healthy. It's not good for you, and whatever you think that it may be demonstrating to somebody else, it's not. All it's demonstrating is low self-worth and ease of availability. And that person's not going to start observing places where boundaries should be, because they lose out then. So, with all of that said, let's have a look at the next step for you, Libra. Ace of Swords. 3. Okay. 3 of Wands and 7 of Wands here with the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. The 3 of Swords is recognise the truth of this situation. First and foremost, recognise that. Recognise the very important role that the 3 swords in the heart have been playing, that the 4 swords that are sitting around your bed while you're in this state of kind of what does it all mean, the answer is there. You just have to choose to accept it, right? And then do something. And it is going to throw you wildly out of your comfort zone, Libra, because But rather counterintuitively, this is the thing that brings everything back into balance for you. So I just think that your awareness of the baseline is so far off now, or like, let's say the fulcrum point for the balance, right? It's so far over one side that it's like this, and it's never ever going to come to this until you move the fulcrum point. Like, this is putting all the balls in your court, interestingly enough. And I realise that there are things here that it's going to have to, that you're being asked to accept that you quite clearly don't want to, otherwise you'd have done it already. But nevertheless, like, whether you like the truth or you don't like the truth, it doesn't actually change the nature of the truth itself. So, a bit like the Fool, you're being asked to be brave and throw yourself into the possibility that this all could change if you willed it to be so. And then the Wheel of Fortune turns the right way up, and you can see the tapestry, you can see what's being woven. This feels like you're being woken out of a really confusing dream, and all of a sudden everything's making sense. Extraordinary. Right, I've been huffling on for a little while now, so I'm going to go to the extended, and we're going to dig into this a little bit more, and see where it takes us. But I mean, the situation as is seems quite clear to me. If you would like to join me for that, like I said before, the links are in the description box below. This Self-Eye, this Circle. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. If that's not your bag, that's fine, but just recognise that we're trying to cast a light on the bits of you that you don't want to look at, because that's usually where the growth is, you know. So just bear that in mind. And if you're struggling trying to work out if the feeling that you have is even correct on this front, right? Try very neutrally, very objectively, flipping the situation around, and consider what the other person's response would be if you played their behaviour back to them. What would they do? Would they put up boundaries? Would they express outrage or this kind of thing? These little thought experiments are really fucking helpful for breaking you out of the mental stuckness that you find yourself in. I do it a lot, and I find it really helps. I have Mars in Libra though, so maybe it's a very necessary thing that I need to do in order to move forwards at any given point, So, like I said, gonna leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.